Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 12th of July, 2021. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So, I hosted the 5th Daily Gwei AMA in the Discord channel on Saturday. In case you missed it, I did upload a recording of it to YouTube. If you haven't checked that out yet, you can check it out on the channel, of course. It was really fun. I love doing these AMAs. They happen every 2 weeks on a Saturday. So, even if you can't attend it, I do record it and everything. And if you want to ask questions, and you can't attend, you can post questions in the AMA series channel anytime between now and when I do the AMA, and they'll get answered on the AMA. But yeah, you can watch the one from the Saturday that just passed here. I'll leave a link to it in the YouTube description, or you can just go to the channel and it'll be there under the AMA playlist. So there's a new, really cool new website actually that I saw over the weekend called Ultrasound.Money. Now, this is basically a countdown to EIP 1559's activation. As you can see here, there's 23 days to go at time of recording. The fork block is obviously this block here, current block, and remaining blocks to go. And then it's got the amount of people that have the bat signal in their Twitter name. So the ultrasound symbol, Ultrasound.Money symbol. There's over 1,564 of us right now, which is really cool. It's funny how this meme started, this Ultrasound.Money meme. It was started by Justin Drake, and I wrote more about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today if you want to go check that out. But it was started by Justin Drake, who's an Ethereum Foundation researcher, and he was basically making a play on how Bitcoin is referred to as sound money because of its cap supply. Whereas, with Ethereum post 1559 and post the merger, realistically, we could see a deflationary ETH, which means that ETH is decreasing supply. So, that's how it goes, right? If sound money describes something that has a cap supply, then ultrasound money describes something that has a decreasing supply. Now, I think it's just something that shouldn't be taken too seriously. I think it is obviously a meme, right? It's something that is very easily digestible and an easy way to describe a world where a deflationary ETH is kind of a reality, and it's something that people can put in their Twitter names and spread the word like that. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are taking it way too seriously, and they're kind of like going on about it, berating people about it, basically saying, this is a cringe meme, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think that the meme is still doing its job at the end of the day, because the meme's job, in my opinion, anyway, is to kind of disseminate information as fast as possible about whatever you want to kind of disseminate information about. Now, with the Ultrasound Money meme, people will see that, and they'll see this bat signal and the speaker emoji, and they'll be like, okay, what's this? Like, I don't understand this. And they'll go Google it. And then a bunch of kind of results will come up and they'll learn about it. And, even if they think it's cringe, the actual meme, they still get to learn about ETH's potential kind of like reality or world where we have a deflationary supply. Now, the Ultrasound Money account here is teasing a supply graph that they're going to be publishing soon. I think this is a really cool way to show kind of how ETH supply has evolved over time. People say, Ethereum is centralized because the monetary policy can be changed whenever, at will or whatever, but it's only changed a few times in the past. It's only changed 3 times so far. 2 times. We had, obviously, at Genesis, we had 5 ETH per block, plus Uncle Rewards plus fees. Then in Byzantium, we had 3 ETH per block. Constantinople is 2 ETH per block. And then the next change will happen when the merger goes through. It'll dramatically reduce the current kind of issuance from 4.5% to under 1%. And then, with 1559, we're also going to have ETH being burned. And then, they're split out the kind of like, I guess, merge and proof of stake going live here, because technically when proof of stake went live in December, we added about 0.5% extra issuance onto what we already have with ETH1, because obviously that's a separate chain and everything like that. But that only lasts for a little while. And then we have 1559 going live, which offsets a bit of that with fee burning. And then once the proof of work consensus mechanism is removed and we've done the merge, and then it drops issuance like a massive amount. So you can see that kind of here. And in this chart, they also show kind of like the amount of ETH in addresses, in smart contracts, and in staking, which I think is a really cool breakdown as well to kind of see where the supply is sitting. And then down the bottom, you're going to have a tool that allows you to kind of like play with the staked amount, what the base fee is going to be in 1559, which means like what the fee burn is going to be. And then, kind of do a merge date kind of like guess here or assumption, kind of like do a slider there to change the date, which I think is really cool. I mean, it allows us to kind of play around with things, allows just general users to play around with things. And, if you assume that ETH's kind of gas prices are going to remain over 10 Gwei, the base fee at least is going to remain over 10 Gwei post-merge, well, then we're going to have a deflationary ETH. That's what the current math is like, because we'll be burning more ETH than we were issuing a year to secure the network, and then we'll get ultrasound money. So I can't wait for this to go live. I'd love to play around with it and see. I mean, I've played around with Justin Drake's spreadsheets before. He's put out numerous spreadsheets with all of this information in it, but they're obviously not as user-friendly as just a basic slide or anything like that. And I really like how, at a glance, you can just see how much ETH is, in smart contracts, in staking, in addresses, and things like that. And you'll be able to kind of project that out as well. So I think that's a really, really cool way to go about it. And I really love this site. I actually, I'm assuming that once this countdown is finished, this site's actually going to be tracking the amount of ETH that it's being burned at front and center, just like how watchtheburn.com does it as well. We're going to have plenty of these websites, and I think it's going to be something that people really want to build because they know it's going to be a high traffic website, or something like Dune Analytics will have a bunch of different charts for this, and you can kind of see how it evolves over time. It's going to be really, really cool watching it all play out. 23 days to go until 1559 is activated on mainnet. So close, so close. And speaking of that, Loopring has also put out an interesting tweet that I don't know how many people got this, but basically they said our security layer ETH is becoming ultrasound on August 4th, 2021. Now, Loopring is obviously a layer 2 ecosystem. Their security layer is Ethereum because of that. But I think, when you kind of take this a step further and look into this tweet a step further, you can kind of realize that all these layer 2s, most of the ETH that they're going to be paying will be the base fee, and they'll be burning ETH too, which is really, really awesome. Just because your users aren't doing transactions on layer 1, if they're on a layer 2, obviously they aren't burning that ETH at layer 2, but it does trickle down to layer 1 because the layer 2s have to pay for security there, and that ETH ends up getting burned. So just something that I think is really cool is that basically the layer 2s all inherit this kind of, burning, and then, they're just going to pay their normal security spend on layer 1, but also have that ETH being burned, and also they're going to have basically an on-chain gas oracle with 1559 that allows them to better plan out when they're going to post their proofs and kind of guarantee that they can get their transactions into a block, and that there's no kind of delays there, and they can kind of automate that whole process. So that's another kind of big advantage of 1559, in addition to the fee burning, of course. Speaking of Loopring as well, they're teasing the layer 2 landscape is about to heat up, which it is. This site that I hadn't checked in a while, l2beat.com. I've showed this website on the Refuel before. Basically tracks all the different layer 2s, the value locked, the market share, the technology that they're using. This is going to blow up, and I'm going to go over Optimism and Arbitrum's announcements that happened over the weekend, but this is all going to blow up massively. I reckon in the next 6 to 12 months, this is going to be huge. There's going to be billions here locked in here. And it's going to be basically all different types of technology, obviously ZK rollup, optimistic rollups, Validium, Plasma, all those sorts of things. It's just going to get crazy from here. And on that note, Arbitrum put out a development update over the weekend. So the TLDR is that most of the things that need to be deployed have been deployed. They're just missing a couple of critical infrastructure projects that need to go live before they can launch Arbitrum to the public. And they didn't specify what those critical infrastructure projects are. I'm going to assume that one of them is Chainlink, because I've explained before that without Chainlink, a lot of DeFi apps can't work. Arver wouldn't work without Chainlink because you need obviously an oracle. If Compound's on there, Compound is integrating Chainlink, that's not going to work. Synethix obviously isn't on there, but there's a bunch of other projects on there. I mean, I can't remember all of them right now, but there is definitely more projects that require something like Chainlink on there. And they did say there's a couple others as well. I kind of didn't really think too hard about that. I'm not exactly sure what those would be, but maybe things like Alchemy and Infura aren't just ready just yet in the graph. Maybe, they announced that they're going to be integrating, but that doesn't mean that they were ready. So maybe those things have to be ready as well. Now, obviously I've spoken a lot about these things before. I've said, hopefully Arbitrum and Optimism launch this month, or else I'm going to eat my hat. I'm not going to eat my hat, obviously, if they don't launch this month. And I don't even think it really matters too much. I think that, obviously people are getting frustrated at this point because they're hearing soon. They're hearing me say it all the time. It's coming soon. I get that. But, it's funny. There's a lot of things just inside and outside of crypto that are like this, where teams will tend to just keep putting out updates because they want to stay front of mind. They want to make sure that people don't forget about them, and that people just aren't kind of wondering what's happening with the project, and I get that. But then some other teams don't say anything, and then they'll just come out with a big update when it's ready. They won't actually tease it or anything like that. They'll only announce it when it's ready to ship. There's just two different approaches that different teams take. I don't think there's a right or wrong approach. I just think that depending on the project, depending on the team, they're going to take a slightly different approach to how they kind of announce things, when they announce it, how they do releases, all that sort of stuff. I am more in favor of teams just giving regular updates, regardless if they have something to kind of like for me to play around with or not. Because going quiet, in my mind, like as someone with a marketing background, is probably one of the worst things you can do in kind of an ecosystem like this, because people will forget about you. There's too much going on within crypto. You need to stay top of mind. So I think that it's fine to do this, but obviously eventually it wears on people and they're just like, I'm sick of hearing about this. I just want it live. And I'm pretty sure we're almost at that point with layer 2s like Arbitrum and Optimism. So yeah, they'll launch soon, but like, don't be surprised if you see another announcement of an announcement, coming out from either of these teams or from anyone really in crypto. But on that note, there is a date that was given, to kind of like, I guess, wait us over until these things are fully live, and that's the date for Synethix's exchange launch on Optimism. So they're saying this will happen the week of July 26th, and with a final deployment date pending the Spartan Council approval. This has been a very long time coming for Synethix. They are the first team on Optimism. They have been pioneers. They have been working with the Optimism team for a very long time now. Obviously, Synethix staking has been live there. For those of you like me who are SNX holders, you'll know all about that. But this is their exchange launch, which is obviously their feature product. Now, this going live is going to represent a huge deal. I think it's going to basically show, is Synethix something that's going to be used, or is it something that's just like a fad or whatever? Because obviously, Synethix has had trouble with the gas market on Ethereum. High gas fees have kind of like hampered adoption, so that's why they were very early pioneer and very early adopter of layer 2s. So I'm really excited to see them going live finally with their exchange on Optimism and seeing what the experience is like on there, and basically having a very smooth, low-fee experience that people can actually enjoy, rather than having to kind of like suffer from the high fees. So really exciting that there's a date there from Synethix on Optimism. I don't know if this means that Optimism is going to go live in like a super public mainnet fashion. I wouldn't count on it. Like, I don't know. I haven't heard much from Optimism besides them announcing kind of like integration partnerships and things like that. But I wouldn't take this as a Optimism launch date. I would take this as a Synethix on Optimism launch date where anyone can use it. But I think the picture is becoming clearer for a lot of people that this stuff is going to be rolled out in phases. It's not going to be an all or nothing thing where, something launches and then like everyone's on there from day one. Everything's, amazing from day one. Nothing needs to be fixed or upgraded. It's going to be a gradual thing, and that's fine. I think people just want to play around with this, with these tools. They want to experience layer 2s on Ethereum, because the closest they've gotten to experiencing Ethereum without the fees is something like Polygon, right? Where Polygon is obviously not a layer 2. It is the Polygon POS chain, at least, is not a layer 2. It's what some people consider a side chain, but that has given a lot of users a low fee environment to play around with that feels like Ethereum just without the fees. Now, that's exactly what these layer 2s are going to be offering as well, and I'm itching for it. Everyone I know is itching for it. We just want to play around with it. We just want to be able to use it. We've heard enough about kind of like these announcements and things like that, and that's fine. But I'm excited to play around with Synethix on July 26th or the week of July 26th, whenever it launches during that week. I think it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be a really great event for the Synethix community to basically celebrate, because it's been a long time coming. So I put out this tweet today where I said, with DAOs, we're witnessing the creation of truly global, decentralized, and digital-first organizations that allow literally anyone to participate. What an absolutely incredible time to be alive. Now, I wanted to expand on this on the refuel. It's funny. I used to expand on these tweets in tweet threads, but like now I just leave it for the refuel because it's just so much easier for me to speak than it is for me to type out something and then make sure that I haven't made any spelling errors and make sure no one's going to call me out on anything, whatever. Essentially, what I meant by this tweet, and to expand on it, was that there's never been a digitally native global kind of organization that has existed outside of the, I guess, like any nation state. There's plenty of global organizations, don't get me wrong, but they all have a home base. Like a lot of them will have a home base in, tax, I guess, tax-friendly jurisdictions. A lot of them will have basically an office in their home country. Obviously, like big companies like Apple obviously are situated in the US, and same with Microsoft and things like that, but they're technically registered in tax-friendly jurisdictions, obviously because they like to pay as little tax as possible. But we've never had a digital-first, no physical location organization before. And we've had some of them attempt to do this, like, for example, Binance attempts to do what's called regulatory arbitrage, where they say they have no physical location, they exist purely in cyberspace. And I mean, I don't really think that's the same thing. Obviously, Binance is centralized. Obviously, the exchange isn't managed by a DAO or anything like that. They still have bank accounts linked to the exchange. They still deal a lot with the traditional world, and they are registered somewhere because they have to pay taxes, right? Or at least record income or whatever. So they're registered somewhere. As much as they want to try and hide where they are, they have to be registered somewhere. At least from what I can kind of suspect. With DAOs, they are registered on Ethereum, right? Ethereum is their jurisdiction. They're not registered in any kind of like country or anything like that. They do not have any, you don't have to have like a visa to work for the DAO. Anyone in the world can work for the DAO. It doesn't even matter who you are. You didn't have to reveal your identity. You can literally work for the DAO being a completely anonymous character. You're judged based on your merit. You can get paid in crypto. You don't even have to have a bank account. So this is what I mean by digitally first organization. Now, a lot of DAOs aren't truly decentralized today, so calling them a decentralized organization maybe isn't the best way to frame it. But I guess by decentralized, there are some out there, but I think maybe the better term is distributed, because they obviously are distributed. They're completely global. I know, I've seen many DAOs have people from literally all over the world, like from opposite ends of the world. I mean, I participate in some DAOs that maybe have like a heavy presence in Europe or a heavy presence in the US, and I'm in Australia. Like Australia is very far away from both of those places. So from that point of view, it's just really awesome that I can contribute to these DAOs if I wanted to, or I could be like a multi-sig signer or anything like that, and I can get compensated for my work, or I can just do it on a volunteer basis as well. I mean, obviously I'm very known within the community, so maybe I'm a bad example, but there's plenty of people out there who remain anonymous and are either multi-sig signers for a DAO, or they are very, core contributors. I mean, perfect example of this is Banteg from Yearn. I mean, I'm sure some people know who that person is. I'm assuming it's a he, but no one it's not a public thing. They're not a really public person. They have Banteg is their name. That's their kind of like avatar on Twitter and everything like that, and that's what everyone knows him as. And there's plenty of examples of this happening right now within crypto, and I think it's just going to keep going like that. So the fact that this exists means that we don't have to kind of like deal with all the burdens and the inefficiencies of the traditional system anymore. We don't have to deal with setting up a company and then getting people to have visas just so they can work for a company. We don't have to deal with all the different tax jurisdictions and anything like that. We can just basically say, okay, let's spin up a DAO, let's make it token holder voting, or let's have like a council, or let's have like a multi-sig, and then let's kind of issue a token, and then we can just like pay out from the treasury to people to help us build this thing. And that can all be done in a day, like even less than a day. You can start a DAO within an hour if you wanted to. It really doesn't take very long, and you can ignore and leapfrog all of the bullshit from the traditional meat space world, which I think is absolutely amazing. And I don't think people have really come to terms with just how world changing this is for a lot of organizations, where we're going to see tons of these DAOs spin up. A lot of them will fail, just like a lot of businesses fail, but the ones that succeed will go on to be worth trillions of dollars. Like their protocols will essentially go on to be worth trillions of dollars. And, some protocols can start out having like a completely centralized core team and then turn into a DAO over time. We've seen that happen many times. Like Uniswap happened like that, Compound happened like that. It's basically this concept of exit to community, where you build up the product over time. Obviously, Compound Labs and Uniswap Labs built up the product over time. Then instead of going public on the stock market, you tokenize and you exit to your community. So you do an airdrop of the token, you create a DAO, you have the tokens in a treasury, and then you start kind of like paying that out to people and things like that. So I think that is super, super cool, and that is kind of like the future of organization. So that's kind of what I meant by this tweet here. And I did want to touch on, like, John Henderson said, linked the tweet thread here, which is basically going over like how token-based governance is like a fantasy because of the fact that, I mean, there's multiple reasons that you can be bearish on token-based kind of governance, you know, from voter apathy to people just like, not paying much attention, stuff like that. And that's fine. But I think the evolution of that is what we're seeing with projects like Gitcoin Stewards, with Gitcoin DAO, how they have the steward thing where you can essentially delegate your tokens to a steward and they'll act on your behalf. And sort of like a liquid democracy kind of system here. Compound has this, Uniswap has this. I mean, many protocols have this. And that is I think, the future of these DAOs. And I think that's totally fine. I don't think that takes away from the global kind of like decentralized, digitally first native kind of like thing that these DAOs have going on. I think that that's just a way to scale them, because at the end of the day, it's very hard to scale humans. So you're not going to be able to have like thousands of DAO members all voting on everything. You're going to have like a core set of people who represent these thousands of people of members, just like we have in the political system today. But we have like a liquid democracy type system where essentially you can basically put your tokens towards someone, say, okay, well, I'm going to delegate my tokens to you because I trust you. I think that you're doing really well within the DAO. You're a well-known community member. You can have my vote, essentially, or you can have my voting power. And then if they start doing things that you don't like, or if they start screwing up, you can just take your delegation away and then delegate to someone else. Whereas within the, current political system, the traditional political system, I should say, you don't really have that option. You have a vote, sure, but you can't change your vote like on the fly sort of thing. You have to vote, and then you're stuck with that person for their term. And, depending on what position it is, that term can be up to 4 years, and it could be longer. I mean, it could, depending on what country you're in, it could be much longer. So from that point of view, I think that it's really cool that we're seeing like this liquid democracy happening within DAOs, and kind of like how token holder voting is evolving there. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out over time. So yeah, hopefully that kind of explains this tweet for those who saw it and gives you something to think about. So Kyber's liquidity mining program for their new DMM is now live on both Ethereum and Polygon. So for those of you who don't know, the DMM is Kyber's new dynamic market maker model that they've basically been teasing for quite a while, and they have this liquidity mining program called Rainmaker that's now live. So as I said, this is live on Ethereum and Polygon. If you wanted to kind of supply liquidity here to either of those chains, you can do so, and you can start earning Kyber token rewards for doing so. Now, the list of eligible pools on Ethereum include everyone's favorite popular pools with stablecoin pools, ETH, WBTC, and KNC, of course. And then on Polygon, it's very similar, except there's a MATIC pool that's as well there. So yeah, that's really, really cool. If you want the full details of it, it'll be linked in the YouTube description, this blog post. You can go check it out. I mean, it's packed full of details and a guide on how to get started as well. So 0x Mons basically published a new white paper over the weekend called LSSVM, or a liquidity provision protocol for NFTs. Now, what this white paper describes is a new way to bring liquidity to NFTs on Ethereum here. Now, for those of you who haven't been maybe paying too much close attention to how NFTs are kind of getting liquidity, there's two kind of ways that's happening right now. One of them is what NFTX is doing, which is basically creating an index of these kind of NFTs, and basically you can trade that as like a fungible asset. And then there's the second kind of thing, which is fractionalization of NFTs, where you can kind of like break up NFTs into small bits and things like that, and kind of like trade them like that. Whatever you want to do there. Whereas this kind of like new LSSVM kind of protocol is basically going to be able to essentially create range orders, from what I'm understanding here, or kind of like range liquidity for different NFTs. I did speak to 0x Mons in DMs about this, and if I'm being honest, like, I don't think I can explain it like you're 5 just yet. There is a bit of complexity here. Maybe, hopefully, they put out some visual kind of like aids for this, because I think that obviously a white paper is well and good, but you definitely want some visual aids for people to be able to kind of, I guess, understand exactly what's going on here. But essentially, the gist of it is basically 0x Mons wants to create a way to bring even more liquidity to NFTs and to enable flexibility of liquidity as well. So people can essentially stop fragmenting the liquidity, bring it all together, and have more flexibility in how they buy and sell NFTs. So yeah, I'll keep keeping an eye on this. Hopefully 0x Mons publishes some visual aids, and I'll be able to show them on the Refuel when they're available. So Seb, the co-founder and CEO of Zapper, is alpha leaking something on Twitter, zapmail.eth, which I'm assuming is a decentralized messaging service or something like that. Now, someone said here, a decentralized email, ? And Seb said maybe, who knows what it is. I actually think that it'd be really cool for a decentralized kind of messaging service to be built into Zapper, where you can basically have your own, I guess like you would have like Anthony at zapmail.eth or Anthony.zapmail.eth, and you can send messages to each other or anything like that. I think that would be really, really cool. I'm not sure exactly what this is or how it's going to work. Obviously, this is just a small leak here, but the Zapper team's always cooking up really fun things, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this is. Just wanted to put it on your radar as well to kind of get you hyped about this. I'm hyped. I'll obviously go over this on the Refuel once it comes out, but until then, I'm just going to leave it in speculation zone for now. So Linda Shea reposted her, a beginner's guide to NFTs here on Mirror. And the fun thing about this is that she actually posted this to Mirror, and you can actually collect an NFT using kind of like this post on Mirror. So this is an old post that she did. It's actually very good. I highly recommend reading it. If you haven't already, you can go check out kind of like what NFTs are all about and everything like that. But by using Mirror, she's been able to essentially either get a tip from readers or sell NFTs directly in the post here. And the proceeds from these NFTs will go to Gitcoin grants. So there's $3,700 raised so far, 1.76 ETH, and this is all going to Gitcoin. I think it's probably going to go into their treasury or part of the next grants matching round, but it's really, really cool. So if you go collect NFT here, it'll kind of pop up with a bunch of NFTs. You can either choose the legendary, rare, or common one. So essentially, legendary costs like 1 ETH, rare costs 0.1 ETH, and a common is 0.01 ETH. And this is how you support the author, and you can basically get like this exclusive NFT of this post. And obviously, there's different editions here. There's only 5 editions of the the legendary one, and then different editions for the other ones. Now, this, I guess is similar to what the Beacon book did. I've talked about the Beacon book a lot on the Refuel before, where you could mint NFTs on Mirror, and there were limited editions and all that sort of stuff. And I do really think this is awesome. This is like, to me, the future of publishing. And I'm actually going to be experimenting with some stuff, hopefully in the near future, with the Daily Gwei on Mirror, because I think, me personally, I want to get off Substack eventually because it's centralized. I want to fully embrace a decentralized kind of service there with my newsletter. But I also want to do really cool things like, obviously, the Daily Gwei newsletter book that I spoke about on the Refuel last week, where I want to essentially create a book out of the first 300 newsletter pieces, do some cool NFTs with it, have the community involved with it. I'm still speccing it out. It's probably going to be like a longer-term project. I spoke to Trent Van Epps, the person who was the lead on the Beacon book project, and he said it took a while to get that all together. So definitely not going to happen overnight, but I'm still pretty excited to do that and to do it on Mirror. But also, I might republish some of my longer newsletters, or I guess like more of my most popular pieces from the newsletter onto Mirror, and kind of like auction them off as NFTs and have the proceeds going to the Gitcoin or something like that, because I just think it's a really good way to essentially give kind of like people a way to support like myself, but also to support myself by redirecting those funds to something like a public good, and getting kind of like having some form of ownership over the kind of, I guess, article and things like that. So yeah, but I'll be keeping an eye on what Mirror is doing specifically as well. I think they've got a lot of things planned. They really do want to change the way publishing works on the web. They want to be able to drive the value to publishers, to authors, instead of it going to kind of like centralized parties, which is what I guess like Ethereum is all about. So really looking forward to seeing how that evolves. So Meg Lister posted a blog post that she put together here, which is describing the Index Corp's internship program. So if you're interested in getting involved with a DAO, with the Index Corp, with working within DeFi that I've been hammering on about for months now, this is probably the best way to do it. Now, I should disclose here that I am an advisor to SET, which is heavily involved with the Index Co-op. But I mean, I love the Index Co-op. They are, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best DAOs on Ethereum right now. They are absolutely killing it across all fronts from what I've seen. Like I obviously keep tabs in it because I'm involved with it at a kind of like higher level here, and they have internship positions for basically everything, like whether it's business development, growth, community org and people, analytics, product, we'll get whatever you want to work on. This program is for you, and that the expected kind of like time input is about 15 hours per week. So obviously, if you have a full-time job, and an extra 15 hours per week working on this would be kind of like a bit difficult to manage, but I definitely think that it is well worth it. So the internship is going to begin July 12th, which is today, and run for 6 weeks. So if you're interested, definitely go check out check out this Medium post here. Applications are open today on July 10th, and will close July 12th, and will close on July 23rd. So I'll link this in the YouTube description. You can go check it out. And I think that's it for today's refuel. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.